Hey guys, so today in this video I'm just going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be showing you my 60 frames per second rendering settings for Sony Vegas, because as most of you probably already know, YouTube just added 60 frames per second just recently. So just in case if any of you were wondering about how to render your videos in 60 frames in Sony Vegas, yeah, this video is for you. So but before we get to the rendering part, after I add my gameplay, I usually go to properties and I click on disable resample, because it just like it makes the your gameplay look sharper and just overall more clear. So I usually do that, and I also uncheck maintain aspect ratio. You don't have to do that, but it's just something I like to do. So after that, I usually go to video effects and I scroll down till I get to sharpen. Then I just drag this over my gameplay, and I have a preset here called gameplay 1. It's just my preset for how much sharpening I like. So you can play around with how much you want. You obviously don't want to make it look retarded or anything, so it's usually different for different games to make it look good. But this is how much I usually use. After that, I usually also use here saturation adjust. So I drag this over here, and I have a preset for this too. So this is how much I usually use. Here, I'll just move to a different part so you can see the detail. So this is without saturation adjust, and this is with saturation adjust. So there's a big difference. You can play around with how much you want, but this is how much I usually like. So yeah, and after that I also scroll back up here, and I also like to use the color corrector, the secondary color corrector. So I drag this over here, and I have a preset for this too. So you can see there's a big difference from before and after. But yeah, you can just play around with the different amounts. If you want to use these exact amounts, you can just pause the video and copy them. And yeah, so that's pretty much all I do. I add some sharpening, some saturation adjust, and some color correcting to make it look just overall better. Like, look at how it looks without all of these. Look, so I uncheck this, uncheck that, and uncheck that. There's a huge difference. So yeah, this is just something I like to do for all my videos. Now, as for the actual rendering settings, we go down here to render as, and yeah, here's my 60 frames per second template. So to actually make your video render in 60 frames per second, you want to make sure that your frame rate over here is set to 59.94 double NTSC. Usually, like normally it would be set at 29.970, but for 60 frames per second, select this. And for everything else, I set my pixel aspect ratio to 1.33, HD 1080p. I set my video smoothness to 100, so it's the best. And what else? Video bitrate, I leave that at 8. That should be fine. Index, and so I don't really mess with this. And for video rendering quality, I usually set it at best. Well, not usually, I always set it at best. So yeah. And for I don't really use 3D, so you don't have to worry about that. And I leave that at default. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really mess with anything else. It's usually good enough. And yeah, it usually takes a little longer for YouTube to make your video run in 60 frames, but it's worth it. There's a big difference. Right now, I'm not really uploading too many videos in 60 frames because I mostly play on consoles, and even though there are a lot of games that run at 60 frames, I don't have an external capture card, so I use the PS4's built-in recorder, and that records in 720p 30 frames per second. So there's no point in me rendering and uploading a video in 60 frames if I recorded it in 30 frames, because it's still going to be in 30 frames, so there's no point. But if you have like an Elgato or any other high-end capture card, then this is definitely good enough. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments if you need any help or have any questions. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.